So, good evening everyone. So tonight, I am with Miss Marifer Canoy and we are going to tackle about interview. So, what is an interview? So, interviews usually take place to face and in person, but the participants that be separated geographically as in video conferencing or telephone interview. So, as you see since then, talking about interview, it usually do likely take place in offices, but nowadays, since we're amidst pandemic, telephone interview or video conferencing is common using those new evolved platform application to connect, determine to bring them for an interview. So, interviews almost evolve spoken conversation between two or more parties. In some instances, a conversation can happen between two persons who type their questions and answers. So, an interview also is essentially a structured conversation where one participant asks questions and the other provide answers. In common parlance, the word interview refers to one-on-one conversation between an interviewer and interviewee. So, here are some types of interview. So, the first one is employment interview. The second one, the performance interview. The third one, exit interview. The fourth one is persuasive interview. And the fifth one is the problem-solving interview. And lastly, the helping interview. So, the first one is employment interview. So, are those which a potential employer interviews a potential employee. So, when we talk about potential employee is not only seeking employment but also determine whether the job is one that could be accepted if offered. The potential employer is searching not only for a qualified applicant but also for someone who could actually benefit the organization. So, potential employers also want to convince potential employees that the position is one they should accept if offered. So, example questions are like this. Why do you want this job? Where do you see yourself 5 years? So, second is the performance interview, or also known as performance reviews. Performance interviews are those in which an individual's activities and work are discussed. These interviews are most conducted between employees and supervisors. But you may also experience them in educational and other settings. For instance, students frequently discuss their progress toward a degree with an advisor or perhaps even a committee of professors in both situations. A person's strengths and weaknesses are discussed with the ultimate goal being to improve his or her performance. Naturally, such interviews can be stressful, but they can also provide people with valuable information that can be used to strengthen their performance and to help them achieve personal and professional goals. These interviews are also an opportunity for the goals and culture of an organization to be reinforced. So examples are the goal-related question that he/she established to reach them. It's more focuses in past achievement to be more accurate with your skills and competencies. The third one is the exit interview, are those that occur when a person chooses to leave a place of employment. The conventional wisdom is that someone who is leaving may be more likely to provide honest answers about organizational cultures, policies, supervisors, compensation, and other aspects of the workplace. If used correctly, these interviews can provide employers with a valuable insight that can be incorporated to improve employee satisfaction and thus the productivity and success of an organization. These interviews are also increasingly common in education and among multiple types of groups such as volunteer organization. Some questions that may include about this type of interview are likely this one. Why did you look for a new job? Why are you leaving? What were the best and worst experience part of your job? So, for now, allow me to give you to Miss Marifer Canoy.
So for the continuation of Horace's report, so let's proceed to the persuasive interviews. So persuasive interviews are those that have influence as the ultimate goal. Interviewer may appear to be gaining information but is actually attempting to influence the thoughts or actions of the interviewee. So this form of interview may sound a bit manipulative and perhaps underhanded, but it is quite common. When salespeople ask your opinion about a product or service, they often do so in a way that to sway you toward what they want you to purchase. At the other times, what appears to be a survey is in reality an attempt to persuade. So political workers have frequently been accused of dirty tricks under the guise of conducting straightforward surveys. So they attempt to plant a seed of doubt or concern in the mind of the interviewee. So for instance, imagine being asked if the incumbent were convicted of running cockfighting ring. Would this influence your vote in the upcoming election? Depending on your vote opinion of rooster or animal cruelty in general, it would not affect your vote, but such questions often influence voter perceptions of candidates and result in rumors being circulated. So next is the problem-solving interviews. Problem-solving interviews, when experiencing difficulties or facing an unknown challenge, people may engage in problem-solving interviews, those in which problem is isolated and solutions are generated. So this type of interview may be conducted by someone with greater experience or insight than the person being interviewed. So student, for example, may be questioned by their professors in order to determine why they may be experiencing difficulties in class. Sometimes, problem-solving interviews are conducted by someone with general knowledge of a situation but whose fresh approach can be beneficial. So, for instance, colleague may be asked to engage in a problem-solving interview when difficulties are encountered with a project at work. Someone not involved with a situation will often provide alternative approaches to solving a problem. So the last but not the least is the helping interviews. Unlike problem-solving interviews, helping interviews are always conducted by someone with expertise in a given area and whose services are engaged by someone in need of advice. So the most obvious example of a helping interview would be a psychologist asking questions of a client. However, other helping interviews include those conducted by credit card counselors with people facing heavy debt load or attorneys advising clients on legal matters. In organization or companies, interviews are generally conducted to test the interviewee, check their domain knowledge, examine their skills, scrutinize their behavior and attitude, and many other aspects that fulfill organizational needs. So that was all about our topic, interview. So I hope, guys, you've learned something about our discussion. So thank you so much for watching and keep safe, everyone.